guys, how are you? I'm so excited to be on yet another coffee date. First of all, I just have to say it is absolutely freezing in my house right now. That is why I am bundled in a blanket. For some reason, our heat downstairs is not working properly. We had it set, and this is like news as of today. We had it set to 70 degrees, and I woke up this morning and came downstairs and it was 64 downstairs. Upstairs is still like okay, so I've been spending most of the day upstairs, but it's 64 degrees downstairs. So we are just bundled up. I have my blanket, I have my warm drink, and we're ready for another little coffee date. I have decided I'm calling this series Coffee Dates, and we are just gonna be meeting like once a month and we're just gonna chat. We're gonna chat about what's new, we're gonna chat about what we're reading and what is coming up. I really don't love making wrap-ups or TBR videos, so this is gonna be kind of like our reading catch-up in place of our wrap-ups and TBRs. I will do like a little bit of like some book review type things in these videos just because I'm not going to be doing those like wrap-ups and TBR videos. At the same time, also, I just want to give us an opportunity to sit and have a little coffee date. I said this the last time I did one of these videos, but something I love to do with my friends is meet up for coffee. And so I just feel like you and I should be meeting up for coffee monthly so we can just stay up to date on what's going on in each other's lives. And this is a two-way street. So please let me know in the comments, first of all, what your order is from the cafe today. I am drinking a matcha. I have a mushroom matcha that I am doing this afternoon. I did have my coffee already this morning and it's a little bit afternoon at this point, so I decided I wanted to switch it up and do a matcha instead of a coffee. But let me know what you're drinking. Let me know what you've ordered from either your home cafe or wherever you are, but what you're sipping on for today's video, because I'd love to know. And then of course we have to talk about what we're currently reading, so please let me know what you're reading in the comments. Also, I just finished Wild Reverence this morning by Rebecca Ross, and I really enjoyed it. I actually was a little nervous in the first half of the book. I was concerned because it was moving very slow and I was not getting very connected to the characters. I didn't necessarily love the characters we were following, so I was a little worried that I was just not gonna like it, but I ended up actually really enjoying it. I did give it 4 stars and just felt like by the end I loved the characters and it was just such a sweet and beautiful story, and I love the way Rebecca Ross writes, so pretty much anything by her I will read and chances are I'm gonna enjoy it. But this one had me a little worried in the beginning when the plot was moving so slowly and like the characters, I wasn't like in love with the characters. There were just so many characters in the first half of the book that I was just having trouble like kind of keeping track, but then also like really getting connected to any of them because there were so many characters. So that did like fix itself. By the end, I felt a lot better and a lot more connected to the characters. Next up, I think for me is going to be Beartown by Frederick Bachman, which is very exciting. I can't wait to pick it up. I have been just hearing nothing but good things from so many people about that one, and I just really think that I'm gonna love it. Also, I don't know if you guys can see Reese, but he is here and he says hello. Reese is my all-white Siberian Husky. He is 4. Are you 4? He's about to turn 4, I think. He is our child. He is definitely my husband's dog. Like, he and my husband are like this, but he's my emotional support animal, so we have that connection. But anyways, that's what I'm reading and that's what's coming up next, or what I just finished and what's coming up next. I also wanted to, since it is January, I want to talk about like our January reset and January goals and like reading goals and all those things. So I have been kind of like slow rolling a January reset, and I was actually making a January reset video that I just completely like scrapped and gave up on because I realized that it's just not for me. Making a January reset video was something that I thought I would really enjoy doing because planning and organizing and like resetting for the year is something I love to do. But I think what I realized is that I really love doing it for me, and trying to make a video out of it just was making it so that it wasn't organic or it didn't feel like natural. So I decided that I wasn't gonna make a video for it, and I was just gonna reset how I wanted to, and then you and I would just talk about it now. So talking about our reset, some things that I've been doing: I deep cleaned after the holidays, obviously, which was so much needed. Our holiday season was so busy, so it was really nice to just deep clean and to just get the house reset. And then I've also been just kind of like slow rolling some other reset things. I really want to clean out my closet and like overhaul all of that. But what I decided is my birthday is actually in the second week of February. And so at least for this year, and I may continue to do this over the years, depending on how this goes, but like my New Year's reset period is going to be from the beginning of the year until my birthday. And then that way I'm like giving myself a whole month to like slow roll all of the things that I kind of want to do. And instead of like setting myself up for a new year, I'm setting myself up in the beginning of the calendar year for a new year of life, if that kind of makes sense. So I think it just like works for me pretty well because my birthday is so early in the year. So like instead of resetting for 2026, I'm still kind of doing that, but I'm also like resetting for turning 25. I feel like this is gonna be a pattern that will work really well for me. At least it's working well for me now because I don't feel as much pressure to like do a reset in a period of like a week or 2 weeks. It's like I have an entire month to do all these things that I wanna do. And then my like new year is kind of like I'm easing into it, and I'll be full force by the time it hits my birthday. So that's kind of the plan, at least for now. I did get a new planner, and I'm trying to be more consistent about like planning out my days and journaling. So these are just kind of like New Year's goals or like things that I want to be intentional about this year. And then I also have started like another little journal situation that is kind of going to be like a combo reading journal, but also kind of just like life journal for this year. But not like necessarily for writing out thoughts or like Dear Diary style journaling, because I have one that I do that with, but almost more like a junk journal, reading journal combo. So like I want to put photos or tickets to things, not really like junk in the traditional junk journaling sense. Like I'm not going to be grabbing like napkins and like scraps of paper, but like memorabilia, like I said, like tickets or photos or just other like little things I could paste in. So I'll just give you like a quick overview. I very much was just doing this like for me, and it's kind of ugly, so don't judge me. I'm not a good artist, but I had fun doing it. So this is kind of like my starting page. I've decided also, I have so many stickers, so I'm kind of like putting stickers all over it too. So I put a couple stickers. I did like a 2026 page, and then the verse that I just really want to be intentional about like being mindful of this year is Colossians 3:23, which is whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord and not for men. I feel like this year for me is going to be a very hardworking type of year. I am learning a lot. I am diving into a brand new career that I started at the end of 2025 or like halfway through 2025. I'm going into 2026 with that like very much on the growth path. And so I just really want to be intentional with my work and like commit my work to the Lord. So that is this page. And then I did decide that my word for the year, I was torn. In December was like, it's gonna be intention, and I'm gonna be really intentional this year. But I feel like I actually really did that more so last year. And so this year I've decided my word is discipline, which is very scary for me. And I wanna build out this page like a little bit more and put some other things on here. So this page isn't done, but that's kind of like my word of the year is discipline. And that is like I said, it's scary for me because I feel like it's one of the things that I can be really good at, but I kind of lost sight of when I got really burnt out at my last job. And so it's something that I'm just wanting to reestablish in 2026. And as I'm turning 25, like I feel like being really disciplined is something that is important to me, and so I really want to focus on that this year. And then I also wrote out my prayer for 2026. So I just like spent some time with the Lord and I wrote out just like a prayer over my year, and I pasted it in the front. And hopefully at the end of the year, I think it'll be really nice to just go back to this and read back through it and just see what the Lord did, and also see like where my mindset was at the beginning of the year and how things have changed over the year. So that's kind of my like first couple of pages in my everything journal. And then because this is a combo reading journal, I did do a TBR spread. So this is my 2026 TBR of sorts. Like I said, I'm not going to be doing monthly TBR videos, and most of that is because I'm very much a mood reader. So I don't like just setting a TBR for each month and then trying to like get through those TBRs like in the month that I set them. It just doesn't work super well for me because I am such a mood reader. But what I did want is to set at least some goals of like a TBR that I want to finish by the end of the year. And this isn't necessarily like I need to finish this TBR, but it's just some books that I would very much love to read this year. So I am going to go through them with you guys. I'm not going to go too in depth with like any of the books on here because I just don't think it's necessary. So it's 26 books. All of these books are already out, so it's not anything, this doesn't include like any new releases that might be coming out in 2026. This is all like books I could put my hands on right now, and a lot of them are already on my physical TBR. So that's kind of like, I wanted this to be a combo of getting through a lot of the books on my physical TBR, and then also some other books that most of these have been on my mental TBR for a long time, and I just decided that I was gonna write them down so that I would be more likely to actually pick them up in 2026 and not just have them like sitting in my brain as books that I want to read. So I do have them sorted by category. I'm going to take a sip of my matcha and then we are going to get into all of the books on my 2026 TBR. Oh, that's so good. Okay, starting with this list, I did organize them, like I said, by genre. So the first 5 books on this list are all nonfiction. They are Christian nonfiction that I want to get to this year. 2 of my big reading goals this year is 1, to read more nonfiction, and 2 is to read more books by Christian authors. So my first 2 genres on this list are Christian nonfiction and Christian fiction. So that, you'll notice, is like the first 9 books on this TBR. So first 5 books, I have The Awe of God by John Bevere, Grace Behind Bars by Bo Mitchell, Don't Waste Your Life by John Piper, Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis, and Who Ate Lunch with Abraham by Asher Intruder, I think is how you say that name. So a few of these books are books that I own. Grace Behind Bars specifically is more of like a memoir. It's not really a like self-help. It's not as much on that side. It's more of a memoir. And then the others are more like Christian, like self-help type things. Mere Christianity is one, the book by C.S. Lewis is one that I have had on my physical TBR and just that I've wanted to read for years, like for so long. And I have started it and I've read like a few chapters of it and I've kind of gone and like breezed through it, but I've never actually read it cover to cover. So that one's big on this list. I would love to read that this year. And then another one that is very obscure, Who Ate Lunch with Abraham, is a book that kind of breaks down like where we see Jesus in the Old Testament, which I think is so cool. And it's another one that's been on my physical TBR for a while. So those are the 5 Christian nonfiction books that I want to read. And then I have, really it's 3 books by Christian authors or like Christian fiction books, and then one that's like a crossover classic / kind of Christian fiction. So we'll get into that in a second. So I have Safely Home by Randy Alcorn, The Silmarillion by J.R.R. Tolkien, A Crown of Chains by Aaron Phillips, and then East of Eden by John Steinbeck. So the first 3 are for sure Christian fiction. East of Eden is more of a classic, and it kind of represents or like showcases like the story of Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel, but not in like a Christian fiction type of way. It's a classic. It's Steinbeck. So it's a little bit different. So I kind of like put it on this list, but it's also like a crossover into my classics section. So that's kind of why it's like living there at the end between like the Christian fiction and the classics. So Safely Home is one that's just been on my physical TBR for a long time. It's like a general fiction, I think, that's a Christian fiction. And then the Silmarillion by J.R.R. Tolkien is another one that I physically own that is just, I love Tolkien, and I read all of the Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit like years ago, and I just would love to pick up more of his stuff. So I have that one. And then A Crown of Chains by Aaron Phillips is a Christian fantasy. It's a fantasy retelling of Queen Esther in the Bible. So very excited about that one. It looks so interesting. And then going on to classics, again, like I said, I have East of Eden, I have The Odyssey by Homer, and I have Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens. I own 2 out of 3. The only one I don't own is The Odyssey, but I do own the Iliad, so I'll probably try to acquire The Odyssey sooner rather than later and read that. I want to read this for 2 reasons. One, I think it would be incredible to be able to say that I've read The Odyssey. And I didn't have to read it in high school, so it's like not one that I've ever picked up. 2, there's a movie coming out this year of The Odyssey. So I feel like it would be really cool to just read the original work. Obviously not the original because I don't know Greek, but to read The Odyssey first and then be able to watch it would be so cool. And then Oliver Twist is another one I've just had on my physical TBR for so long. My next section is like general fiction, mystery, thrillers, romance. Like all of these are just non-fantasy sci-fi, basically. So I have The Only One Left by Riley Sager, The House on Vesper Sands by Periac O'Donnell, Beg, Borrow, or Steal by Sarah Adams, Never Let Me Go by Kazu Ishiguro, and Beartown by Frederick Bachman. So Beartown, obviously, I'm picking up. That's like the next book I'm reading. So that one will be done so quick. Beg, Borrow, or Steal I've owned for so long and just never picked up. Don't know why, but I'll probably read that one around Valentine's Day. And then The House on Vesper Sands is another one that's like kind of an obscure read, but I picked it up from Barnes like 4 years ago and just never read it. It's been sitting on my physical TBR for years, and I really just want to get it off of my physical TBR. And if I hate it, I'll DNF it and get rid of it. But I feel like it could be a 5-star read that I've just been sitting on for years and I would never know. So there's that. Also, The Only One Left is another one that's been on my mental TBR forever. It's a thriller that I've just been like thinking about reading for so long that I just needed to put on this list so I would finally read it. So that's all the like general fiction, romance, mysteries, like that category. And then finally, I have all of my fantasy and sci-fi. I have Fragile Threads of Power by V.E. Schwab, Dance of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson, The Will of the Many by James Inslington, The Alloy of Law by Brandon Sanderson, The Shining by Stephen King, What the River Knows by Isabella Banez, Realmbreaker by Victoria Aveyard, The Things Gods Break by Abigail Owen, Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, and Red Rising by Pierce Brown. This is a stacked fantasy sci-fi list. There are probably about half of these that I own, specifically the Fragile Threads of Power, Dance of Thieves, The Shining, and Realmbreaker have been sitting on my physical TBR forever. So these are ones that I'm like, I need to get to them this year. Otherwise, I just need to unhaul them, or I need to like at least give them a try and get to the point where I know whether or not I'm gonna like it. And then if I DNF, it's not a big deal, but I just need to try. I need to give them a try. And then the rest are either newly acquired or books that I just have on my mental TBR that I've just been thinking about picking up for so long, especially What the River Knows. And The Things Gods Break, that one hasn't been out for that long, but it's been like a short enough amount of time that I'm like, okay, I need to pick it up. Like I'm gonna read it this year. I also think the next one comes out either at the end of this year or the beginning of next year, so I wanna make sure that I read that one this year. Also, my sister-in-law loves that series. I really like it too. I read the first one and really enjoyed it, but also just part of like the community of reading, like I want to be up to date on the series too so we can talk about it. So that's kind of where we're at. Yes, The Shining by Stephen King is on this list. That is one that I do have on my physical TBR. I've never seen The Shining. I have no idea even what it's about, but I know that it's like one of his most famous works. And so I really want to just get it off my TBR. I want to read it. And then I do want to watch the movie. My husband's really into horror movies, so he would be really excited if I said I wanted to watch The Shining. I'm not as big of a fan of horror, but I appreciate a really well-told story, and I feel like Stephen King tells really good stories. He is just an incredible storyteller. So I love that about his writing. So that is my 2026 books for 2026. That all of these books I'm just so excited to get into, and I really just can't wait. Like, I feel like this reading year is just gonna be so good. So a couple of my like other reading goals, one is I wanna read 52 books, so just one book for every week of the year. That's my goal this year. Like I said before, I'm focusing a lot on work this year. Like, work is just gonna be very challenging for me, and I'm really gonna dive head on into it. I've also increased my content creation this year. I'm trying to post a YouTube video at least twice a month, hopefully every week. And then I'm also trying to post short form content like 5 days a week. So I have a lot of like big other goals. And so I don't want to like really put myself in a dilemma where I've made my goals unattainable because they're just too big and there's too many. So 52 books I think should be totally attainable for me. And so that is my like numerical reading goal. And then my like non-numerical reading goals, one, like I said, is to read more nonfiction. I would love for 6 of my books this year to be nonfiction. And I think that that's a really attainable goal. I almost said 12 because it was like one a month, which would be great. But nonfiction can be really challenging for me, especially if I'm in like a reading slump or I just like don't have that much time to read. It can be really challenging for me to actually want to read nonfiction. So I'm sticking with 6. So it's one every other month instead of one a month. And then to read more Christian fiction and to just be like, get more exposed to Christian authors and authors that write like no spice romance as well. Romance is something that I really enjoy reading as like a palate cleanser in between bigger like fantasy or classics or just like heavier reads. I do love picking up romance just kind of in between. So finding more authors that write romance without spice is definitely a goal of mine. And then also just reading more books by Christian authors so I can just be supporting other authors who are like really just trying to, you know, spread the gospel or just like be a light in the book space. So that is another one of my like non-numerical reading goals for this year. But that's kind of all of my, these are all my goals, all of my books on my 2026 TBR, and just kind of all the things that I'm doing this year and excited about this year. I think we're gonna do a little bit of traveling. We already have a trip booked for my birthday, so I'm really excited about that. And yeah, I think it's just gonna be a great year. So let me know, like I said, this is interactive. Let me know in the comments what your numerical reading goal is, if you have any other reading goals for this year, if there's any books that you're really excited about on your 2026 TBR, I would love to know what they are, and I'm always accepting recommendations. If there's a book that you think that I would love that you would recommend to me, please let me know. I want all of the recs as I go through my reading year. So that is all I have for our little coffee date today. Thanks for hanging out with me while I freeze in my downstairs. I am just so grateful to be able to sit and chat and make content and have the time and capacity to do that. And I'm really excited for what 2026 is gonna hold. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me for a little chunk of your Wednesday, and I will see you next time for another new video. Bye.